Alo, in the heart of the Amazon, a legend whispers through the leaves a story of a king, not of a castle, but of the jungle itself. This isn't just any story. It's the saga of Kai, a young man raised by the Emerald Canopy, who would rise to become the Jungle King. His journey begins not with a crown, but with a challenge that will test his courage, his strength, and his very soul. Deep within the uncharted territories of the rainforest, where ancient trees touch the sky and sunlight struggles to pierce the dense foliage, Kai lived a life woven into the fabric of the wild. He wasn't born into royalty, but he was chosen by the jungle. He learned its language, understood the rhythm of the rain, the secrets of the jaguar, and the wisdom of the oldest trees. The monkeys were his brothers, the serpents his teachers. His throne was a moss-covered branch, his scepter a vine-wrapped spear. This was his kingdom, and he was its silent guardian. But peace in this paradise was a fragile thing. A shadow loomed on the horizon, a threat known as the Steel Serpent. It was a group of ruthless poachers and illegal loggers, led by a man named Silas, whose greed knew no bounds. They saw the jungle not as a living, breathing entity, but as a resource to be plundered. Their chainsaws roared like monstrous beasts. Their traps laid silent death for the creatures Kai had sworn to protect. Kai wasn't a warrior by nature, but he was a survivor. He knew every inch of this labyrinthine world. There became a ghost in the trees, a whisper on the wind. He set up his own traps, not of steel, but of vine and bamboo, designed to disarm and disorient, not to kill. He used the jungle's own illusions, mimicking animal calls to lead the poachers on fruitless chases, using mud and leaves as camouflage until he was one with the forest floor. To them, it seemed the jungle itself was fighting back. His first major move was to sabotage their camp. Under the cloak of a moonless night, he moved like a shadow. He released the captured animals from their cages, creating chaos and confusion. He dismantled their equipment, piece by piece, leaving them with nothing but their frustration. He left a warning, a symbol carved into a treather mark of the jaguar, a promise that the jungle was watching. The poachers were spooked, Scythe. They were armed with guns and technology, but they were in a world they did not understand, fighting an enemy they could not see. Silas, however, was not easily deterred. He was a cunning and cruel leader. He saw Kai not as a guardian, but as a pest to be exterminated. He started studying the jungle, trying to understand his phantom adversary. He learned about Kai's connection to a specific part of the forest, the Grove of Whispering Orchids, a sacred place said to be the very heart of the jungle. Silas believed that if he could control the heart, he could break the king. His new plan was simple and brutal. Burn the grove to the ground and draw Kai out into the open. Word of Silas's plan reached Kai through his network of animal allies. A frantic chattering of monkeys, the distressed calls of toucans, they all carried the same message of impending doom. Kai knew this was the final battle. It was no longer about hit-and-run tactics. It was a direct confrontation for the soul of the jungle. He couldn't let the grove burn. It was the source of life, the place where the spirits of his ancestors resided. As the poachers marched towards the grove, torches in hand, Kai prepared for his stand. He wasn't alone. The creatures of the jungle, sensing the ultimate threat, rallied around him. A silent army gathered in the trees and undergrowth. Jaguars slunk through the shadows, their eyes gleaming. A troop of powerful monkeys waited in the canopy, and swarms of insects buzzed, ready for a signal. They were united by a common purpose: to defend their home alongside their king. The battle began as the first torch was thrown. But instead of igniting the sacred orchids, it was met with a sudden downpour, orchestrated by Kai, who had diverted a small stream. The fight for the jungle had begun. It was a symphony of chaos. Monkeys swung from vines, snatching weapons and creating diversions. Jaguars herded the intruders into confusing paths. Kai, now fully revealed, moved with the grace and power of the animal he revered. He took on Silas's men one by one, using his spear and his intimate knowledge of the environment to neutralize them without lethal force. The final confrontation was between Kai and Silas, a clash of two worlds. Steel against wood. Greed against honor. Silas was bigger and stronger, armed with a machete, but Kai was faster, more agile, a part of the environment itself. He dodged and weaved, using trees and vines to his advantage. The fight was brutal, a desperate dance under the ancient trees. In the end, it wasn't brute strength that won the day. Kai, using a clever vine snare, disarmed Silas and trapped him against a giant ceiba tree. Defeated, surrounded by the jungle's silent guardians, Silas finally understood. He hadn't been fighting a man. He had been fighting a living world. With the poachers captured and their operation dismantled, peace slowly returned to the Amazon. The sounds of the jungle came back, louder and more vibrant than before. The scar began to heal. Kai, standing tall amidst the whispering orchids, was no longer just a boy raised by the wild. He had faced the steel serpent and won. He had proven his worth, not through conquest, but through protection.